the more reports I watch about this Omar Mateen, the shooter who killed over 50 people in that Orlando nightclub massacre, the more I start to understand the background and profile of his behavior. Because when I look at his behavior and his background, it pretty much mirrors a lot of the behaviors I saw when I was 12 years old in junior high school, reflected in a lot of these males. And when I listen to the news talk about his background and his profile, I saw a lot of the dysfunctional behaviors I saw with a lot of these junior high school males participating in. And that's why I came to the point in saying that there is something wrong with the way these males are raised, because these behaviors that they participate in pretty much give you a snapshot of how dysfunctional they are. Now, before your Omar Martin went into that club and shot up all those people, he participated in some behaviors that came out as red flags to me. And the first thing I saw was when I was looking at some pictures they posted of him on TV and on Facebook, is I saw a heavy dose of overcompensation in those photos. Now they show pictures of this guy wearing an NYPD T-shirt, an NYPD polo shirt. He talked about aspirations of joining a police force of some type, and that clearly showed me some sort of overcompensation in his behavior, some sort of insecurity regarding his masculinity and his male identity, because that's what a lot of these guys do when they feel insecure about their masculinity. They overdo things. Like I saw a lot of guys, they do that. They'll work out and they'll overwork. They'll make themselves super muscular, or they'll be filled with bravado. And another tell that will show you that they are overcompensating is how they treat their spouse. And his wife came out and said that this guy pretty much, he beat her up, he abused her. And again, that's another sign that these guys are overcompensating because they are insecure about their masculinity and their male identity, and they're very uncomfortable with their masculinity and their male identity. Now, a lot of people will look at that and go, "Oh, that just means he's an abusive guy." But no, those are really hard tells regarding that type of thing. And another example of his overcompensation due to his insecurities about his masculinity and his male identity was the fact that this guy was always talking about terrorism and jihad and all this stuff. And that raised a lot of red flags with the FBI, but it also raised red flags with me because when I listened to that, again, I saw a lot of the same behaviors I saw in IS 148 when I was 12 years old. I saw the same behaviors. This guy's overcompensating to cover something. He's trying to cover up something that he has a problem dealing with. And the other red flag that this guy participated in was his constant obsession with homosexuals. And this is another, huge tell when you're dealing with a dysfunctional male. They will just, again, fixate on their sexuality, and they will always be constantly talking about it. Now, this person will say that they're straight, but they're always constantly talking about homosexuality. And this is what really tells you about it, because they get emotional about it, they get personal about it. It's a real clear sign that there is something, wrong with this dude, because an ordinary guy, they'll they'll hear about gay and they'll just move on. They'll just ignore it. They will not fixate on it. They will not obsess with it. They will not get emotional about it. They will not get personal, you know, about a person's sexual orientation. It will not be an issue to them. If they see two men kissing, they're not going to get upset about it because everybody has probably seen that, if you live in an area like New York. I mean, if you go to a Barnes and Noble or you go to any place like that, you may see that once in a while, but then you may not care about it. It's like you may not fixate on it like this guy did. This guy pretty much he fixated on it. He blew up about it. He got really emotional about it. And when you hear someone protest too much, that's a red flag because that's what guys who who have an issue with something do. That's what they're overcompensating because they have this issue. And then I watched the report which said that this guy was a regular at this gay bar. And I listened to that and I said, there's something wrong here again. Something clearly wrong with this dude. And it reminded me of those boys that tried to bully me when I was 12 years old, who kept talking about, why don't you have a girlfriend? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, there's clearly something wrong here, because it's like, why are you concerned with something that you don't like? And when I listened to that, it took me back to my childhood, and I said to myself the same thing. If this guy hates homosexuals so much, then why is he going to a gay bar? Why is he frequenting this gay bar? Why is he going there on the regular? Now, some people who do not understand the red flags and the signals, they'll sit there and tell you, oh, he was probably casing the place out, he was doing surveillance. No, that's not what he was doing. He was going there because he wanted to go there. And that's why this guy was doing this. All this other stuff, this ISIL stuff and other things, the way I see it, it looks more like this guy is putting up a smokescreen, because this is what these type of guys do. They overcompensate, and they put up smokescreens to cover up their closeted homosexuality. These guys are closet homosexuals, but they don't want it to come out that this is who they are. And they don't want it to be revealed to the world that this is who they are. And this is the stuff that these type of guys do. This is what they do on the regular. I mean, what type of straight married man is going to have gay dating apps on his cell phone? What type of straight heterosexual man is going to go to a gay club on the regular? This is not the behavior of a heterosexual man. This is not the normal behavior of a heterosexual male. A normal heterosexual male, whenever they see, two men kissing in a Barnes Noble, doesn't pay it, looks at it, walks away, and tries to avoid it, like I do. But your closeted homosexual, he's going to get emotional. He's going to get personal. He's going to get irate. He's going to get upset. He's going to blow up and get super emotional about it, because he's overcompensating for his insecurities regarding his sexuality and his male identity. And when I look at the pattern of his behaviors, they clearly show me that this Omar Mateen was a closeted homosexual. And he was a closeted homosexual Muslim who was dealing with a conflict that was boiling within himself. This is what made him unstable, as I see it, because he was dealing with this conflict because his religion told him that this was wrong, but on the inside, this is probably how he felt about himself. And this is where he had the big problem regard why he wasn't going on the shooting rampage, because he couldn't deal with the feelings he had within himself. And this is what I see with these males. A lot of them are on the down low, and they don't want to admit these feelings, homosexual feelings they have, and that's why they are so violent. That's why they are so, aggressive, and this is why they overcompensate so much in other ways. And I look at this Omar Mateen, and it took me back to my junior high school days, and these males who used to try to bully me, and how they would always they always got upset because I didn't have a girlfriend, I wasn't in a relationship, and I wasn't chasing women. And I always looked at that, and I always thought that was suspect to me, because you look at that and you go, why is another man concerned with what another man does? And that's where the red flag hit me in the head with this Omar Mateen. I looked at that and said, why is this man concerned with what other men do? Regular men, heterosexual men, are focused on themselves, what they want to do in life, and what they want to achieve in life. That's what they do on the regular. Regular heterosexual men are not concerned with what another man does, or tries to make efforts to try to fix what another man does. Again, I go back to what I said in Return of the Killer Simps. This is what this Mateen tried to do. He tried to call himself trying to fix the homosexuals in his community by trying to exterminate them. But in actuality, what he was trying to do was he was trying to deal with this identity issue that he was struggling with on the inside of himself, because that's where the real issue was with this guy. He, again, as I see it, was a closeted homosexual, and he was trying to deal with this issue, and he thought if he went in here and killed all these gay people, it would deal with the conflict within himself. but it wasn't going to help deal with that conflict at all. Clearly, this is where he had his mental health issues, this conflict in between his religion and his own sexuality. And this is where this is what led to him probably shooting up that nightclub. Because when I look at his behaviors, they clearly fit the pattern that I saw way back about 30 years ago regarding these dysfunctional males. The overcompensation, the constant insecurities, the constantly getting emotional. This, these type of behaviors are red flags that tell you that someone has a serious issue with their own sexuality, their own male identity, their own masculinity, and they are struggling to deal with it. And and because they have little control over their emotions, they act out in a way that is destructive, not only to themselves but to other innocent people. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.